My name is Ian and welcome to Planted. In this video I'm going to introduce you to the most beautiful flower in the world, and that is Lapageria. Just look at that. Now you might say, why is this so special? Well, I've not been into a single garden centre and found this available for sale. I bought this from a specialist nursery on the west coast and received it mail order. So let's consider the conditions that Lapageria needs to grow. It's a vine or a climbing perennial plant. It will live year in, year out. But the conditions it needs is some winter protection. It does not want strong cold winds, and it needs to be overwintered just above freezing. I first saw pictures of this Lapageria in an old seed catalogue by Thompson & Morgan. Now, Thompson & Morgan, very renowned all those years ago, and it wasn't until about 20 years ago that I bought some seed and tried to grow them. Needless to say, they didn't germinate, and the reason is that you don't know if the seed is viable, when it was harvested, and how long it's been packaged, and I've since learned that that's very important. So fast forward to about 10 years ago, and I was searching eBay and found somebody had a little seedling available, which I bought. That seedling was about this tall, from top of shoot to bottom of roots, very, very petite. So I carefully looked after it and got it more established with a bigger root system. The winters here in Connecticut are too cold for this plant to live outside unprotected. So I'd always wanted a small greenhouse, which I built on the side of my house. Every year it would come through the winter with new shoots, very vibrant, very healthy, and typically these flower later in the season, September, October time. This particular plant would put out long branches, and I trailed them all the way through the upper part of my greenhouse. And in 1 year I must have had this plant with 40 flowers on it. Just beautiful and exquisite. And I remember this very distinctly. I was packing up my plants for the winter, storing plants that needed winter protection in my greenhouse, and I saw a little mouse go into my greenhouse. I thought, oh, you'll be fine. You'll overwinter in here, and then you can go somewhere else. It wasn't until early February I noticed that my Lapageria was now dead because the mouse had eaten all the roots of my beautiful Lapageria. To replace that plant that died because of the mice eating the roots, I bought this plant about this size from a specialist grower on the west coast. This plant came to me mail order, so I've been carefully growing it up. It's now in a pot, and as you can see, it's rewarding me with these beautiful flowers. We are here in early July, and I've never had Lapageria put out flowers at this time of the year, so this really is quite special. There's another one right there. We've got one there, and there's a few more little buds starting to grow within the plant. There's a few clues I want to give you on how to look after Lapageria. If you have a large pot, such as this, make sure that it doesn't dry out. It wants to be evenly moist. This discoloration you can see on the tips. You see how we've got dieback and then yellowing and then green. This is where I was probably a little overzealous with some fertilizing earlier in the year. And if the root ball had also slightly dried out at that same time, it's just a bit too rich, and this is indicative of over-fertilizing. If we turn this around, you can see that we've got a nice new shoot here. The stems are quite wiry, quite stiff, and that new shoot would indicate that the plant's very healthy. And if I look further down, there's even more new shoots coming. We've got another new shoot right there. So this plant is very, very happy. I'm delighted. It's just wonderful. Now, let me explain to you Lapageria rosea. Rosea means pink. This is pink, and how beautiful it is. The trouble with plants is that when you have success with a plant like this Lapageria rosea, you start to look further afield and you want more plants. Now, I don't plan to collect these, but there's a blush white which I've never ever seen for sale. You can't find it in the States, but I did find some seed from another country, and I was able to buy those seed and at least try and germinate them. So I'm pleased to announce that these seedlings grew. I've got 3 juvenile white blush Lapageria, and they were sown in January. It's now July, so 6 months to get to this size. And I want to show you some footage of that process. The next part of this video features me sowing 8 Lapageria seeds, but the principles can be used for any choice, rare, unusual plant that you want to grow from seed. So for Christmas, my brother sent to me 2 packets of seed, and here they are. This is they came from Chilton Seeds. This is a variety called Hewlett's Blush, and guess what? It's a white-pink blush. And these seeds are hard to come by. Chilton's got a great name, and if I can't trust anybody, I can't trust these guys. So there's 4 seeds in one packet and 4 in the other, and I'm going to take you along with me for the ride and see how these grow. So the first thing is I'm going to treat these with some pre-soak. I'm going to put these into a little container and let them soak in water for a day or 2. So they'll be super hydrated. And then these are going to be sown directly into these pots. Now, getting the medium right for these is very difficult. And because they're so slow growing, you don't want to have to disturb them. If you put 4 seeds in one pot and 3 grew, or 2 grew, you then have to disturb them to pot them on. So I'm going to use these pots, 1 in each seed, and they could stay in here for as long as a year, maybe even more, because they'll put out a little shoot and then do nothing. Then they'll put out a longer shoot and then do nothing. So you need to have this plan in place to prevent you from having to handle them when they're juvenile. So these 4, I'll do 1 plant, 1 seed in each pot, and I'm going to tape them together. Now the reason for this is that I don't want these pots to tip over. They're quite tall, they've got a narrow base, so if you're not careful they'll tip over in the propagator, and this way I can be sure that they will stay as one. So essentially I've got 1 large pot with 4 seeds in it, but my pot is easy to separate when they grow. Can't tell you how excited I would be if I get all 4 of these germinate. That really would be quite special. And then we'll have to have a competition where I give away free Lapageria. So maybe that'll be you. So there we go. That's our 4 pots taped together. Now the growing medium for Lapageria is a bit of a head scratcher, and as is the case with so many plants, they say moisture retentive and yet free draining. These are 2 opposite ends of the scales. What they mean is they don't want the growing medium to stay wet and soggy, and they don't want it to dry out. So this is too wet, this is too dry. If you just come in a bit, this is the range that the plant can be in. Free draining at this end in that it doesn't get too wet, but not so sandy that it drains completely and dries out. So given that these seeds are so special, I feel I have to put a little bit of effort into mixing up some special growing medium. This is how the seeds came. You wouldn't think that I could get so excited by a little packet of seed. Now do bear in mind, if you've got shaky hands or fat fingers like me, these seeds can bounce all over the place and you've lost them. So you need to be, when you're ready to handle them. Until then, don't mess around with it. So the first thing is we're going to reuse this little gadget. This is a little fast food container. It's got holes in the bottom so it can drain. Then we have our little tray, which is going to go in there like that. And then we're going to add some water. Whoops. want to make sure that the seeds aren't stuck up here and then you throw that piece away. The seeds are down there, and I do believe there's just 4. There they are. That's what all the fuss is about. Now you can see we've got 3 that are luminous yellow and 1 that's not. That may be a feature in the future. So we're going to just drop those in there. We're going to close the lid. That's why I like having this potting station with the shelf at the top. I can put things that I don't want to touch or bang or move or fall over, and that'll be safely. So this is day 1. I'll give that a couple of days, and that'll be day 3, and I'll do a piece when they get planted on. But now let's turn our attention to this. This is some stuff called vermiculite. You can get it in different concentrations. It is really good at aerating up your potting mix. So this is part of that conundrum of when you want it moisture retentive and yet free draining. This is what I'm going to add to my mix. And I've also got something else I want to show you. I've been saving organic matter and putting it in my bin for years, and I sifted it a couple of weeks ago and I got this, and as you see it's got lots of coarse organic matter in there, and I'm going to use this as part of my project. But I made this little handy dandy sieve, and what I can do is I can set it up like that. You can see all of the good fine stuff is falling through, and I'm getting rid of any excessively large clumps and clods. The plant comes from South America, from Chile. It's their national flower, and it grows in moist woodland, so it doesn't want direct sunlight, and a woodland over centuries will absolutely give you a rich organic growing environment. There we go, perfect. So this is the heavy stuff I don't want, and this is the nice fine stuff that I do want. There's a little bit of soil with this, which means that it will never ever dry out. It will always be easy to wet. To that I want to add more perlite. Now be careful with perlite. It's very, very light. You can get dust. So just bear that in mind. You don't want to be casting this in the air. And what you've got here is some store-bought potting mix. The white bits are expanded polystyrene. Vermiculite. Perlite, the other one. Vermiculite and perlite. Do a search online and educate yourself on these two growing medium additives. So what I want is kind of a third and a third. And it could be 40, 30, 30. I mean, I think you get the gist of it. Now this, this is really dry. We've got to pre-wet this. If we put our little seeds in this, nothing will happen. It'll just be it'll take a long time for that to moisten up. And by adding this now, we get a nice thorough mix. You can see that starting to clump up nicely. Look at that. Absolutely wonderful. Now, you saw me just then firm it into the bottom. If you look underneath, these have got 4 large holes. This is part of that free draining. And they're also deep, so the plant can put out its roots, and the roots can go down, 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 and there's still a good amount of growing medium. You might just need to be sure that your potting medium doesn't fall out the bottom. I'll be growing this on this Perspex sheet, like that. That means it can drain, but the growing medium can't fall out of it. So here we go. Please don't buy any plastic plant labels. This is a little bit of lumber chopped up on a table saw, and I'm not adding plastic to the world. I'm not overly firming this, it's just a little level. Now the nice thing with just 4 seeds is that you can take the time and do this to the highest of standards. I'm going to place these in the exact middle. Don't think I'll go and get a ruler. But I do want them to go into a moist environment. Now then, where did my seeds go? Oh, here we go. This is that other packet. I get so nervous handling seeds like this. Should point out that on Chilton Seeds, they will give you the instructions, and then there's a little cultivation leaflet, lots of notes on growing plants from seed, what you should and what you shouldn't do. You'll notice that there's no colourful marketing picture because these plants are so, I don't know, under the radar. Anyway, it's called here a half-hardy perennial. That means that it would grow year after year if it's warm enough. Many plants are half-hardy perennials, but that's a terminology that they use. So there's my 2 packets of seed with their notes. Please don't fall out of my hand. And there we are again. Gosh, it's interesting. 3 luminous ones in the other packet and 1 that's slightly off colour. Now I'm putting these in and I'm just touching them into the surface because I want them to make contact. There we go. Make sure there's nothing left in your hand. Whoa, this is exciting. The reason I've got this growing medium just a little bit lower is that a new shoot will be protected by the lip of the pot. I'm always on about getting the growing medium at the right level in the center, but these plants are so special, by dropping it down a little bit, I feel that they'll be protected. Let me just show you what we're looking at. So we've got 1 seed right there. There's another one here, there, and the last one is right there. And then what I want to do is add some vermiculite on top. Take your time and do not bury the seed. If you think logically, seed that blows in the wind is going to land on the surface and then germinate. It doesn't wait for someone to come and bury it. We've become enamored with burying seed. So what we have on top of there is a eighth, maybe a quarter, no, not a quarter, less than that, inch of vermiculite. I'm a big fan of watering. Put your finger over the end. When I was filming this, unbeknown to me, there was an aeroplane in the background, and it completely distorted what it is that I was saying to you. So here we have just a little bit of a voiceover. As the seed starts to germinate, fingers crossed, the growing medium around it may settle. So once you get that shoot, you may need to add a little bit more vermiculite on top of your seedling to make sure that the new roots are hydrated and don't ever dry out. I know it's a lot of effort, but it is absolutely worth it. That's it. We are done. Now the seeds in here will go into the propagator in a couple of days, and these seeds are going to go into the propagator right now. So I hope you enjoy this adventure. This is 24 hours later from when these seeds were first soaked. I think it's important to change the water and inspect your seeds. I was surprised by how much they had swollen up being immersed in water. Drain out the seeds very carefully, add a little bit more water, soak them for another 24 hours, and then they will be sown the same way as what you've just seen. And this is where it gets really exciting, because every day I would go and stare, and then suddenly you see a little green shoot. And you think, is that the seedling? Is it working? And then you see another little green shoot that looks very viable, and all of a sudden, it's a real plant. They grew. I'm very happy. Thank you so much for watching the video. This is the longest I've ever done. It's all about Lapageria and whether you can buy a plant as a seedling or maybe even grow it yourself. This beautiful evergreen tender perennial is absolutely worth growing. Thank you so much. Bye for now.